Good afternoon, everybody. This is Julianne Grant. I'm your host today for our Razorleaf Tech Tuesday, What's New from Aras Webinar Series. Today, with Milan, Obradovic, and Rodney Coffey, and we're going to be covering Aras Innovator Release 35. A couple of housekeeping notes. If you have any questions, just put them in the questions panel. We'll have a question and answer session at the end, and we will be sending this recording out in the next 48 hours. With that, I'm going to hand it off to Milan.
All right, thanks, Julianne. And everyone, welcome back to Tech Tuesday. We have a pretty exciting episode, at least for me, and I hope it's the same for you guys. So as always, our agenda is going to look pretty similar. We're going to take a look at what's new in the newest release, that being release 35. We're going to do some Q&A, and then we're going to wrap up with some exciting news about some upcoming events that we have planned, as well as what Aras has planned. So, our notable release notes slide today, a little shorter than usual, but each one of these is probably more impactful than most things that we've done in the past few releases. So one being, if you guys were at ACE, you might have already gotten a sneak peek of this, but with Innovator 35, we got a brand new user interface. Aras has a complete facelift, going from 12 to 14 up until 34. The user interface looked largely similar. But this is a pretty major refresh and giving some new life to the Innovator UI. Alongside that, there's the Aras Import Manager. This was actually initially introduced for release 33, so it's available for 33 to 35. And it's a new import management tool that's kind of moving batch loader functionality into Innovator. So able to track your steps as you're doing these imports and making sure that they're all validated and going in without any issues. All right, so the new UI, like I mentioned, this is a complete refresh to the Innovator user experience. We're gonna have a new landing page, fresh styling on forms, fresh search grids, CUI updates. You kind of already get a sneak peek here with how the new buttons look, and configurable theme colors, which is super fun. So you can set up, how you want your Innovator to look based off of, your proper corporate branding or just preferences within the company. So us being green and Razorleaf, I kind of set up my environment already to express our corporate image. And continued, there is a ton of other stuff that was packaged in with this UI update. New indicators if there's no content in a search instead of just kind of leaving you with a blank screen. Relationship building has been modified and kind of updated for ease of use. Promote dialogues now look like they belong in Innovator 14 plus versus the old kind of Innovator 11 looking promote dialogues. You can kind of slide and modify how you want your sidebar favorites to look, and configurable grid behaviors. So, instead of having to write custom code to display a grid as green, red, or however it is, we now can do that with the low-code rules engine that you guys have kind of seen already through the responsive form designer. So we're going to go through all of this today in demo. We're going to show you how to set up some of these things, kind of how they work, and get to play around with our environment a little bit to make it look how we really want it to. All right, and that also brings us to the new import manager. This is a new application that's been added to Innovator to allow you guys to import items from Excel spreadsheets and kind of make the whole process a little easier and give it a modern UI. So through this, we have a lot of custom options here. We can route imports through change orders. We can create custom import validation rules. We can have different import types, whether it be flat or a part-child relationship. And the goal of this is to constantly run our imports through a repeatable process. We're going to set up the configuration of the import. We're going to set up all the specific mappings that, taking the columns from our Excel spreadsheet, mapping those into specific properties. We're going to stage that data. We're going to validate it, and then we're going to go forward and then import that data into our environment. So that's another thing we're going to be able to take a quick look at, kind of run through this process, show how it works, what steps are going to be taken as we go through the process, and we'll poke at that a little bit during demo as well today. So actually we'll cover this first and then we'll go into demo. So Aras has updated some end of life dates. So we've seen obviously 12 SP18 is already end of life. The 14, 15, 16 were end of life last year. 17 to 19 have reached their end of life state within the past month in June. And then upcoming at the end of the year and the start of next, we have 20 and 21, and then releases 22 through 29 in June. They did a similar thing with releases 17 through 19, or actually 17 through 22 at first, saying they're all going to be end of life in June. So I would keep an eye out. They may update those end of life dates through that range. But for now, that is currently what they are set at. And to continue to update you guys on this, if you're looking into upgrade, SQL Server versions 2012 and 2014 are now deprecated with the release of 32. .NET Hosting Bundle 8.0.1 is now required. So just keep an eye out for that. Make sure that your environment is up to date, got all the necessary upgrades you need before you actually go ahead and upgrade your Innovator environment. And then following that, we have the self-service reporting sunset. So keep in mind, if you're upgrading from a version that is older than release 31, and you're making use of self-service reports, those are sunset. They're not in, that application is removed from subsequent releases post 31. So if you are making use of those, there is a tool that Aras put out on Aras Labs to export your SSRs as SQL queries, import them as query definitions, and then therefore use those query definitions to generate new reports making use of the new reporting application. All right, with that, let's go take a look at the new Innovator. So as I mentioned, we have plenty of UI upgrades that have occurred, and that even starts at the login screen. There's just a new feel to the new Innovator. And it might not be super noticeable on the login screen, but it definitely will come as we head to our landing page. So gone are these square tiles. They are now rectangular. And updated logos for Aras, updated CUI buttons, updated context menus. Everything has sort of gotten a new refresh, to bring it up to the current standards of styling. So that goes along with things like search grids, forms, and all that. So let's go ahead and take a look at a search grid. So when we head to the search grid, one thing you'll notice is that sadly the blue bar is no more. There are ways to get that bar to look blue again. In this case, it is a nice tint of green. But what you'll notice from the search grid is, it's different. We got the blue bar is gone. We have some configurable behaviors on our search grids, and so on. So you'll also notice that all of our CUI buttons have received a refresh here on the grid, and the same thing will go as we open a part form as well. So what you'll see, once again, is these buttons all refreshed. The fields themselves have a bit of a rounded edge to them versus the sharp corners that we've become accustomed to, as well as our relationship grids as well. The new changes really impact all the way down to these levels. So another thing that was mentioned was the updates to relationship generation. So in the past, you had to select this, it'll open up our modal search dialog, and you'll have to go search and find that component. What has been introduced is the ability to directly search for the item that you want to add to your relationship grid from this search menu here. So as I start typing, it'll auto-populate with the most relevant components that make sense here. So for example, if I wanted to add another component here, I can search for it, double click it, and I'll have a new entry into my bill of materials. So the next thing I'd like to cover here is around, how do I dictate the behavior of some of these things? So, we obviously see that my Innovator environment is quite green. I have this green sidebar, my edit button is green, my discard button is a custom black color here, and as well, our state field here is showing up as green as well. So how do we get to some of this stuff? How do we start to modify this? So let's start with some of the more global settings. So to do that, we can head into configuration, client presentation, and head into our global presentation here. What you'll see at the top is these three new fields here. So theme primary, theme secondary, and theme brand. So the theme primary and secondary are really going to dictate a lot of your text coloring here, as well as your button coloring. So for the most part, what I've noticed poking around at how these operate is that your theme primary is largely around your text coloring and your primary buttons here. So really your save, done, and so on. And then that theme secondary is going to be for your secondary buttons as well. Theme brand is going to dictate kind of the overall tinting of your environment. So not only just the sidebar here, but there's going to be some areas of the environment where you'll see a green hue per se. So like when I highlight a component in a search grid or in the background of some of these menus. So let's go ahead and change things up a little bit. Maybe we're not all Razorleaf employees and don't want everything to be green. So let's say we're going to start to make things red. So we'll say for this one, we want it to be red. Our secondary, let's make it blue. And our brand, we want it to be, say, black. So it won't immediately show those changes. But if I were to click done and just quickly refresh my screen or reload my Innovator environment, and you'll see that now our sidebar has turned to black. And if we head into a record, we'll see our search grid is red. These things are starting to highlight themselves as red as well. When I open my component, say I want to edit, our buttons are going to immediately reflect those changes. So now let's say we want to start to modify a little bit of how our search grid is behaving. In order to do that, we can head into the item type definition. In this case, we'll just take a look at parts and head to this button here for managing our rules. So you'll see as I've already pre-created a rule to dictate how we want our search grid to behave when the part state is set to preliminary. Let's say we want it to behave differently for released. Let's say green is good, we can edit those components. In this case, if it's released, let's say red means no go. We don't want to be able to modify those. So we'll say this is a part state released. We'll add a condition. In this case, we want to specify that the value of the property of state, so just type that quick, is going to dictate this. So if our state is set to released, we will have the behavior of displaying our property or formatting our property with the background color of red and our text color to be white. Click OK. And you'll now see our new rules generated, the new formatting, things of that nature. Close that out. And let's go push our components here to be released. I already have a change triggered. We'll just quickly vote this ECO through. Let's put that to planning. Start our work. And we'll close our change. And we'll close our change. So now all of our components are going to be in a release state. We head to our search grid. My behavior didn't work. But we'll head to our search grid and verify what our issue is here. State is released. We may need to just refresh our grid. There we go. So now, as you can see, our part state is set to released, and now our conditional behavior for that field will dictate how we want that to be displayed. So obviously I kept it as a pretty simple example. I'm just setting a single property to how we want to display. We could have multi-step rules. Let's say, if it's released, we want every single field to be changed to a different color, formatted differently, and so forth. All that is possible through that rules engine. So one more thing to touch on around our UI modifications, and it's also going to give you guys a little sneak peek of the import manager. So I've already sort of pre-staged an import here, but I really quickly wanted to take a look at the new promote dialog. So in the past, you would have seen here a pretty dated looking user interface that has, pretty boxy Innovator 11 type styling. That's been updated to the kind of the type of styling you'd expect out of a poly item sort of menu there. So just another note to add. All right, so that will bring us to the topic at hand, the import manager. So the import manager, as I mentioned before, is really a new way of getting data into your system. I've taken, a simple Excel spreadsheet, such as this one, just with a few parts, a description, name, and a classification on our items. And I've imported that into my environment. So what you'll see on the bottom here is the mapping behavior. So let me actually get in here and promote this to the mapping step and begin to edit. So when I import my Excel spreadsheet, it'll populate the header based off of me specifying the header row position into this grid here. And once that's populated, I will have the ability to then go through and specify what specific property that this, this column is going to be populated into. So if I go to this map to, I can go ahead and search on every single property that is on the part item type. So for example, the part number is going to map into the item number, description into description, name into name, class into class, and so forth. So let's reset that. So within the configure step as well, or within this as well, we have the ability to specify, what specific worksheet it's coming from within that file, what the item type we're importing into, what kind of import type are we doing, whether it's a flat import, a part-child relationship. If the import mode is ad hoc, it's just going to import these files. We could also specify that it is going to be linked to a change process. So say we create all these parts and we want to immediately a change order to be released, that is also possible to generate through the import manager. But now we have all of our configuration done, all of our mapping complete. We can go ahead and go to the staging phase. We can do one final review and it'll begin to validate our import. So when the validation step kicks off, it is going to go into it's going to launch a conversion task. The conversion server is going to then go run through its standard conversion process, as well as go through this new conversion task that comes through with the import manager. So once that's succeeded, we could refresh, we'll get a validation result. So this is going to highlight how many lines in the file. We can verify we had 9 parts we wanted to import. We can see that all 9 of those are correct. There's 0 without warning, error, or note. And if there were errors, we would see those populate here in the validation results. So we'd see what row, what severity, a message of what happened, a description, and so on. But once we have our validation, we can go ahead and import. So in the same way, the import is going to launch a task and then verify, whether if it failed or can succeeded. So we could refresh here. We got a nice green imported dialog. We see that all lines have been imported with success, and there's 0 with error. So let's go ahead and verify our result. We now see 9 new components renumbered to the sequence, and then that I had assigned to the part, as well as all the metadata that I included from that Excel spreadsheet. So yeah, that's the crux of the import tool. So like I said, if we wanted to make inputs, or sorry, make updates to components, that can be done through here. We could also, like I said, link these things to a change process as well. So with that, that is the the demonstration that I planned for you guys today. So hopefully you enjoyed taking a look at the new Innovator, and there's plenty of updates to continue with this UI enhancements that they highlighted during the ACE conference as well. So there should be plenty of new content around the UI in the near future with our Tech Tuesdays. So with that, I'll send it back to our deck and send it back for questions. So if you guys have any, feel free to put those in the chat and we can get those answered.
Thanks, Milan. We do have a few questions that have come in over your demo here. First one is, can wildcards be used when adding child relationships? This one was done on the first 12 minutes of the discussion, so.
Oh, is that related to the relationship building? So if it's first 12 minutes, I would assume that's early.
Yeah, it was early in the discussion. So yeah, can wildcards be used when adding child relationships?
Yep. So that functionality there is going to operate pretty similarly to this search grid when we're going into a item from the table of contents. So it's not necessarily wildcard dependent. If we wanted to still create relationships the old-fashioned way, there's still the ability to open up that search dialog and then make use of any type of search you want there.
Okay, great. Is the import manager installed out of the box in release 35? And because I currently can't find it, this is from Angela.
Yep. So the import manager is a separate application. So installed just like if you wanted to install quality management, MPP, things of that nature. So you'll have to find that either on the Aras file transfer or just within the update tool. I'm not sure if it's there, but you'll just have to find those packages to get them installed. Once they're installed, you can just make use of your subscription license and go from there.
Okay. Angela also provided a little bit of a comment and a question. So let me read the comment to you. The additional labels on the UI elements in the toolbar are a little problematic when you're using language packs, especially for French and German. They tend to be longer, so they don't fit on the screen for versioned items. So there's no space left for custom buttons. What is the quickest way to revert to the previous without simplified icons and labels? So the question is, go ahead.
Yeah, I think the quickest way for you to accomplish that is to kind of revert back to those icons and labels. The CUI is still there. You can make modifications to how those things look. It just kind of updated the default CUI options with the new release. So I think you'll just need to revert back to whatever works and makes sense with your multilingual environment.
Okay. Was this Aras Innovator instance you demonstrated an upgrade or a new install?
This was a new install. So every Tech Tuesday, I will usually go in and set up a brand new instance, fresh, for this demo.
Okay. All right. Is the batch loader being removed from the product?
The batch loader still exists. It's still within the CD image. So if that's something that you want to continue to make use of, feel free. I think this is just Aras beginning to move into another direction and giving you another option to get data into your system.
Okay. Another question here. Can the import tool only be used to add new items, or can we also use it for other tasks like update, promote, or other complex queries that add parts, M parts, etc. at once? Question mark.
Yes. So far, I've really only experimented with adding and updating through the import tool. I'm not sure, since I'm not sure if there's the ability to add or remove components or things of that nature using it, but I'll have to dig a little deeper and do some experimentation with it. but I don't recall seeing a remove function within the documentation as I was prepping for this.
Okay. Another person, we use standard AML templates for the importer. Will they still be valid?
So you'll still be able to use those templates to import things. I wouldn't use them. I don't think they're going to be able to be used with the import tool. There may be a tool. I could imagine Aras putting out a tool to convert those AML inputs into some sort of mapping items, probably through Aras Labs, but that doesn't currently exist. I would just continue to import the way that you're already doing this. The real intent of this is to provide a low-code, simple method of getting data into the system. Make it for the end user to manage their inputs and make sure that there's no errors into the system. So the same way as you could use CWS to write configurable web services to write an integration nowadays, but there's still the option of doing that by hand. The same goes for the import tool.
Okay. We got another question here. Can the import tool create relationships?
Yes. So all I demonstrated was a flat import, but there is the option of creating part-child relationships within the import tool. I just don't have that data staged up to do it right now.
Okay. Will the new UI require any new training to review on how the environment works?
I would say that the environment largely works the same. I logged in, I was able to find everything I needed to within the environment. It's going to look different, but it's going to feel the same. All of your clicks will be the same working through the environment, so I don't think that's a major concern.
Okay, and does the import manager require any other licenses?
No. So when you install the import manager, as long as you have your subscription license active within the environment, it'll work. Just make sure post install to update your feature tree, do all the proper steps, and you shouldn't have any licensing issues to work with it.
Okay,
but another
great.
note there, another note there around the import manager, if you're looking to install it and get it running, those conversion tasks will not run until you restart the agent service post install. That's also highlighted in the installation steps. So just ensure that you follow that properly, so all of your imports will work properly.
Okay, great. And last question, how will the new user interface impact custom forms?
From what I've seen so far, it shouldn't. So if you have some custom form logic, that shouldn't impact it. It's just really changing the base styling underneath the form. All those events should still trigger the same way.
Fantastic. Anyone has any last questions? Please put them in the questions panel. Looks like we had a whole bunch, so thank you for your participation. Okay.
All right. Well, I will send us back to the deck so we can wrap up and close out.
Okay.
So as usual, we're gonna close out with upcoming events and things to look out for in the Aras world as well as the Razorleaf world. So ACE 2026 location and timing was announced recently. That's going to be April 13th to the 16th in Miami. So as usual, you're going to be able to meet with Aras experts, various business leaders, and then collaborate with other admins and end users, like you guys on the call. And then I'll pass it off to Julianne and Rodney to highlight a bit of what we have coming at the upcoming user group conference.
Sure. Rodney, you want me to take it or?
Yes, yeah, I can talk a little bit to it.
Okay.
Yep. Give me 1 second. So yeah, we're pretty excited about this year's user group. For those of you who have been for us for a while, you know this. We've been doing this every year in person now for I think this will be our 4th year. And each year we've got different, same general theme. I would say Milan just talked about the ACE conference. The user group is just a fantastic experience. It's much more personal. It's certainly not a selling event, and it really is, while we facilitate, really just customer driven. The conversations we have there, the networking that happens is really the whole point of the event. So we're pretty excited this year. We were able to get a few sponsors to help us out with some of the dinners and the events we run sort of around the main session. We will extend the event again this year to a few days, just because when we used to have it, it was a little bit shorter and everybody just wanted a little bit more time together. So we'll be in Indianapolis this year. That's another kind of ongoing theme now. We've moved it around the last few years, and that has added some new excitement to the venue. So we'll be in Indy October 14th through 16th. I should have a final agenda prepared by the end of July. We just confirmed another customer speaker today, so we're pretty excited about that. And we do have one vendor speaker who's going to be out to kind of show a new integration to Aras that we have as well. So just really excited about all the participation we're getting from partners, Aras included this year in the event, and just looking forward to having everybody out. I think right now, at current time, I was actually just working on this. We have 1, 2, 3. We have 7 different organizations that are going to be represented out there already. So we are expecting a little bit bigger group this year too. So this typically, this is the other thing too. If you're on, Tech Tuesday goes out pretty broad to the whole Aras community. We have done a fairly good job limiting our user group to our Razorleaf Aras subscriber base. This year we do have some folks that are coming that are outside our subscriber base. So all I would ask is if you are very interested in coming to be a part of this and you're not a Razorleaf Aras subscriber, don't let that stop you. I would email myself, Rodney.Coffey, C-O-F-F-E-Y @razorleaf.com, and we can discuss how to get you out there. So I'm just really excited to see everyone and have everyone back together this fall.
Excellent. Okay, I think that concludes our webinar today. We have anything else, Milan?
No, that'll be it.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining us today. We'll be sending out this recording shortly, and we hope you have a good afternoon. Thanks for joining us today. And thanks Milan and Rodney. Bye.